Welcome back, or welcome as the case may be, to A Twist of Faith. I'm your host, Alex Parkview. This week we're going to continue our look at Air, the Book of Lucifer, the Enlightenment. It's going to be Hell, the Devil, and How to Sell Your Soul. We're moving along at a decent clip on this part of the Satanic Bible. This is like the meatiest part, other than the Enochian keys at the end, which we'll get to those in their due time. But I'm trying to pump out some extra episodes, so this is the first of the, hey, I have some extra free time, so you guys get an extra episodes. So we're going to be taking a look at Hell, the Devil, and How to Sell Your Soul. Coming up here just in a minute. Hell, the Devil, and How to Sell Your Soul. Satan has certainly been the best friend of the church, as he has kept it in business all these years. The false doctrine of hell and the devil has allowed the Protestant and Catholic churches to flourish for far too long. Without a devil to point their fingers at, religionists of the right-hand path would have nothing with which to threaten their followers. Satan leads you to temptation. Satan is the prince of evil. Satan is vicious, cruel, brutal, they warn. If you give in to the temptations of the devil, you will surely suffer eternal damnation and roast in hell. The semantic meaning of Satan is adversary, or opposition, or accuser. The very word devil comes from the Indian Devi, which means God. Satan represents opposition to all religions, which serve to frustrate and condemn man for his natural instincts. He has been given an evil role simply because he represents the carnal, earthly, and mundane aspects of life. Satan, the chief devil of the Western world, was originally an angel whose duty it was to report human delinquencies to God. It was not until the 14th century that he began to be depicted as an evil deity who was part man and part animal, with goat-like horns and hooves. Before Christianity gave him the names of Satan, Lucifer, etc., the carnal side of man's nature was governed by the god, which was then called Dionysus, or Pan, depicted as a satyr or faun by the Greeks. Pan was originally the good guy and symbolized fertility and fecundity. Whenever a nation comes under a new form of government, the heroes of the past become the villains of the present. So it is with religion. The earliest Christians believed that the pagan deities were devils, and to employ them was to use black magic. Miraculously, heavenly events they turned white magic. This was the sole distinction between the two. The old gods did not die, they fell into hell and become devils. The bogey, goblin, or bugaboo used to frighten children is derived from the Slavonic bog, which means god, as does baga in Hindu. Many pleasures revered before the advent of Christianity were condemned by the new religion. It required little changeover to transform the horns and cloven hooves of Pan into a most convincing devil. Pan's attributes could be neatly changed into charged with punishment sins, and so the metamorphosis was complete. The association of the goat with the devil is found in the Christian Bible, where the holiest day of the year, the Day of Atonement, was celebrated by casting lots for 2 goats without blemish, one to be offered to the Lord and one to Azazel. The goat carrying the sins of the people was driven into the desert and became a scapegoat. This is the origin of the goat, which is still used in lodge ceremonies today, as it was also used in Egypt, where once a year it was sacrificed to a god. The devils of mankind are many, and their origins diversified. The performance of satanic ritual does not embrace the calling forth of demons. This practice is followed only by those who are in fear of the very forces they conjure. Supposedly, demons are malevolent spirits with attributes conducive to the deterioration of the people or events that they touch upon. The Greek word, demon, meant a guardian spirit or source of inspiration, and to be sure, later theologians invented legion upon legion of these harbingers of inspiration, all wicked. An indication of the cowardice of magicians of the right-hand path is the practice of calling upon a particular demon, who would supposedly be a minion of the devil, to do his bidding. The assumption is that the demon, being only a flunky of the devil, is easier to control. Occult lore states that only the most formidably protected or insanely foolhardy sorcerer would try to call forth the devil himself. The Satanist does not furtively call upon these lesser devils, but brazenly invokes those who people that infernal army of long-standing outrage, the devils themselves. Theologians have cataloged some of the names of devils in their lists of demons, as might be expected, but the roster which follows contains the names most effectively used in satanic ritual. These are the names and origins of the gods and goddesses called upon, which make up a large part of the occupancy of the royal palace of hell. The four crown princes of hell: Satan, Hebrew, adversary, opposite, accuser, lord of fire, the inferno, the south; Lucifer, Roman, bringer of light, enlightenment, the air, the morning star, the east; Belial, Hebrew, without a master, baseness of the earth, independence, the north; Leviathan, Hebrew, the serpent out of the deeps, the sea, the west. So there, LaVey talks about more of how religions need an opponent, an adversary, a great evil to keep themselves alive, because they can't point the finger at somebody and say, don't be like him, don't follow him, or you're going to rot in hell forever. So Satan being the adversary, the opposition, the accuser. But then he mentions the pagan gods and how they get cast down and turned into devils, which is an interesting take, and historically actually not all that inaccurate. Like Pan that he mentions was a satyr of Greek gods. Dionysus in Greek mythology was the god of like pleasures and wines, I want to say, like party, festival, that kind of thing. All these things about carnal, embracing your inner desires, your earthly wants, all these gods that were affiliated with that are now turned into this devil figure that you're not supposed to act like. And it even goes further and says you can call on not just Satan, but Satan, Lucifer, Belial, and Leviathan. Now, are they all one and the same? Well, a lot of Christian, Catholic, Protestant, you get the idea, those types of churches would have you believe, yes, they are all just the same person, entity, being, deity, fallen angel, what have you, with a different set of names. But LaVey breaks it down and says Satan is Hebrew for this, Lucifer is Roman for that, Belial is Hebrew for this, and Leviathan is Hebrew for that. So maybe it's more along the lines of a hierarchy, like LaVey is implying, the four crown princes of hell, like high up on the throne, leading the charges. He has a whole list of infernal names. I'll probably put that in towards the end of the episode, just for anybody who's interested. I'm not going to go through like step by step here, because that would just take forever. But I will name them in the episode just for anybody who may be interested. But like LaVey seems to think there's more a hierarchy in this following of the infernal names, the infernal rulers, the ones that people summon forth for their naughty, naughty things that they're going to do. And then he goes and says, the devils of past religions have always, at least in part, had animal characteristics, evidence of man's constant need to deny that he too is an animal, for to do so would serve a mighty blow to his impoverished ego. The pig was despised by the Jews and the Egyptians. It symbolized the gods Frey, Osiris, Adonis, Persephone, Attis, and Demeter, and was sacrificed to Osiris and the moon. But in time, it became degraded into a devil. The Phoenicians worshipped a fly god, Baal, from which comes the devil, Beelzebub. Both Baal and Beelzebub are identical to the dung beetle or scarabus of the Egyptians, which appeared to resurrect itself, much as the mythical bird, the phoenix, rose from its own ashes. The ancient Jews believed through their contact with the Persians that the two great forces in the world were Ahura Mazda, the god of fire, light, life, and goodness, and Ahriman, the serpent, the god of darkness, destruction, death, and evil. These and countless other examples not only depict man's devils as animals, but also shows need to sacrifice the original animal gods and demote them to devils. So you can see again in that, LaVey is saying that people need to have this great enemy, this adversary, and it dates back to pre-Christianity, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Persians. Like, it's a concept as old as time itself. You have a good force and a bad force, God, the devil, light, dark, like praise, folly. It's just the yin and the yang, the balance, light and dark, the whole concept. It dates back to God knows when. No pun on that, just best way I can phrase it. Like, there's always got to be a good to go with the evil. And LaVey is correct in that, because any religion, not just Christianity and the modern ones, but any religion has to have something to aspire to and something to shy away from in order to live, quote, the best life possible. So LaVey does good in calling that out. And he goes on and a little bit more here with some details. I'm going to skip over some of them because it's just the same kind of thing. But then he gets down here and says, the Teutonic goddess of the dead and daughter of Loki was named Hel, Hel, a pagan god of torture and punishment. Another L was added when the books of the Old Testament were formulated. The prophets who wrote the Bible did not know the word hell. They used the Hebrew Sheol and the Greek Hades, which meant the grave, also the Greek Tartarus, which was the abode of fallen angels, the underworld inside the earth, and Gehenna, which was a valley near Jerusalem where Moloch reigned and garbage was dumped and burned. It is from this that the Christian church has evolved the idea of fire and brimstone in hell. So even the creation of the place, plane, realm, whatever you want to classify hell as, even that did not exist, but it was taken out of the context of other religion, mythos, belief structures, and adapted, modified, as so many other things that the Christian faith does with pagans. I mean, just look at the Christian holidays. If you want, I'll do a special on those at some point just to give you an idea. Like, the Christian faith just picked and borrowed and chose whatever the hell they wanted. No pun intended. The Protestant hell and the Catholic hell are places of eternal punishment. However, the Catholics also believe there is a purgatory, where all souls go for a time, and a limbo, where unbaptized souls go. The Buddhist hell is divided into 8 sections, the first 7 of which can be expiated. The ecclesiastical description of hell is that of a horrible place of fire and torment in Dante's Inferno, which, ironically enough, will be covered after the Satanic Bible. Stay tuned to future episodes for that one. And in northern climes, it was thought to be an icy cold region, a giant refrigerator. Even with all their threats of eternal damnation and soul roasting, Christian missionaries have run across some who were not so quick to swallow their drivel. Pleasure and pain, like beauty, are in the eye of the beholder. So when missionaries ventured to Alaska and warned the Eskimos of the horrors of hell and the blazing lake of fire awaiting transgressors, they eagerly asked, "How do we get there?" Most Satanists do not accept Satan as an anthropomorphic being with cloven hooves, a barbed tail, and horns. He merely represents a force of nature, the powers of darkness, which have been named just that because no religion has taken these forces out of the darkness. Nor has science been able to apply technical terminology to this force. It is an untapped reservoir that few can make use of because they lack the ability to use a tool without having to first break down and label all the parts which make it run. It is this incessant need to analyze which prohibits most people from taking advantage of this many-faceted key to the unknown, which the Satanist chooses to call Satan. Satan, as a god, demigod, personal savior, or whatever you wish to call him, was invented by the formulators of every religion on the face of the earth for only one purpose: to preside over man's so-called wicked activities and situations here on earth. Consequently, anything resulting in physical or mental gratification was defined as evil, thus assuring a lifetime of unwarranted guilt for everyone. So if evil they have named us, evil we are. And so fucking what? The satanic age is upon us. Why not take advantage of it and live? Asterisk next to live just says evil reversed, like derp. Come on, that one's kind of common sense, but well played. So again, LaVey just harps and harps, like Christians, Catholics, all these "you're going to hell if you die" type religions are trying to scare people into acting right rather than encouraging them to think and freely and just do things because it benefits themselves as well as their neighbor. The common theme you hear from me in a few episodes: don't be a shitty human. Satanists seem to be on board with that. Don't be a shitty human. But LaVey even admits most Satanists do not accept Satan as an anthropomorphic being. So all these people that say that they're Satanists and tell you that they worship the devil, Satan, Lucifer, whatever name, they don't worship an actual deity or a perceived deity or a made-up deity. They worship a force of nature. They're in tune with the darkness because that they don't want to follow the path of subjugation by people who have a stick up their butts and a proclivity to tell you how to act and live unless you want to go to hell. They want to do their own thing. They're not out looking to cause trouble necessarily. Some of the things they do may not be in line with that which is great, good, and whatever, but at the same time, they're just going to live their lives and try to get for themselves what they can while doing as little harm as is necessary or probable or possible to other people. Again, not an endorsement, not a condemnation. Pick a faith, pick a god, pick a deity, pick yourself, worship how you please. It's not my call to tell you. But just be honest with yourself. If you say you're a Satanist, admit that you're worshiping a force of nature, you're tapping into powers of the universe. You're not worshiping this big scary devil dude, because even the guy who wrote the Satanic Bible is telling you that he didn't believe in it when he wrote it. He says it's nothing but a made-up creation by the religions that felt the need to do so. So if you say, oh, I'm a Satanist, and somebody asks you, well, what do you believe in? And you say, I worship the literal devil, then you're not a Satanist. You're just a fucking poser who's looking for some cool points. Sorry, not sorry. Comes from LaVey's own writings. So just be honest with yourself. Take a look at the infernal names here in a second, and then probably tap out a quick conclusion for this episode. And we'll see if we might be able to get one more section of the Satanic Bible done later today. I have a few things going on. As promised, a list of all of the infernal names, at least the ones that LaVey recognizes or makes mention of here in the Satanic Bible. Bear with me on pronunciation. I am not a fucking word scholar for all of these languages, so I'll do my best. Feel free to leave a comment, hit me up with proper pronunciation if you feel so inclined, though honestly, I would hope you would have better things to do. So here we go, the infernal names. Abaddon, Hebrew, the destroyer. Adramelech, Sumerian devil. Apuk, Mayan devil. Ahriman, Mazdean devil. Ammon, Egyptian ram-headed god of life and reproduction. Apollyon, Greek synonym for Satan, the archfiend. Asmodeus, Hebrew devil of sensuality and luxury, originally creature of judgment. Astaroth, Phoenician goddess of lasciviousness, equivalent of Babylonian Ishtar. Azazel, Hebrew, taught man to make weapons of war, introduced cosmetics. Balberith, Canaanite lord of the covenant, who was later made a devil. Balaam, Hebrew devil of avarice and greed. Baphomet, worshipped by the Templars as symbolic of Satan. Bast, Egyptian goddess of pleasure represented by the cat. Beelzebub, Hebrew, lord of the flies, taken from symbolism of the scarab. Behemoth, Hebrew personification of Satan in the form of an elephant. Behirit, Syriac name for Satan. Belay, Celtic god of hell. Chemosh, national god of Moabites, later a devil. Cimmeriz rides a black horse and rules Africa. Coyote, American Indian devil. Dagon, Philistine avenging devil of the sea. Damballa, voodoo serpent god. Demogorgon, Greek name of the devil, it is said should not be known to mortals. Diabolus, Greek, flowing downwards. Dracula, Romanian name for the devil. Emma O, Japanese ruler of hell. Euronymous, Greek prince of death. Fenris, son of Loki, depicted as a wolf. Gorgo, dim of Demogorgon, Greek name of the devil. Habarim, Hebrew synonym for Satan. Hecate, Greek goddess of the underworld and witchcraft. Ishtar, Babylonian goddess of fertility. Kali, Hindu, daughter of Shiva, high priestess of the Thugis. Lilith, Hebrew female devil, Adam's first wife who taught him the ropes. Loki, Teutonic devil. Mammon, Aramaic god of wealth and profit. Mania, Etruscan goddess of hell. Mantis, Etruscan god of hell. Marduk, god of the city of Babylon. Mastema, Hebrew synonym for Satan. Melek Taus, Yazidi devil. Mephistopheles, Greek, he who shuns the light, according to Faust. Metzli, Aztec goddess of the night. Mictian, Aztec god of death. Midgard, son of Loki, depicted as a serpent. Milcom, Ammonite devil. Moloch, Phoenician and Canaanite devil. Marmo, Greek, king of the ghouls, consort of Hecate. Nema, Hebrew female devil of seduction. Nergal, Babylonian god of Hades. Nihasa, American Indian devil. Nija, Polish god of the underworld. Oyama, Japanese name for Satan. Pan, Greek god of lust, later relegated to devilдom. Pluto, Greek god of the underworld. Proserpine, Greek queen of the underworld. Pwicca, Welsh name for Satan. Rimmon, Syrian devil worshipped at Damascus. Sabazios, Phrygian origin, identified with Dionysus, snake worship. Satan, Enochian equivalent of Satan. Samael, Hebrew, venom of God. Samnu, Central Asian devil. Sedit, American Indian devil. Sekhmet, Egyptian goddess of vengeance. Set, Egyptian devil. Shaitan, Arabic name for Satan. Shiva, Hindu, the destroyer. Supay, Inca god of the underworld. Tanmo, Chinese counterpart to the devil, covetousness and desire. Tchort, Russian name for Satan, black god. Tezcatlipoca, Aztec god of hell. Thamuz, Sumerian god who later was relegated to devildom. Thoth, Egyptian god of magic. Tunrita, Scandinavian female devil. Typhon, Greek personification of Satan. Yaotzin, Aztec god of hell. And last on our list is Yanlo Wang, Chinese ruler of hell. So the fact that there are that many different names for evil forces, devils, satans, etc., does kind of lend itself to the belief that religions can't survive without an adversary, because if there's only one true religion, like some of them would have you believe that they're the only one, then why are there 50 different religions with devils in them and 50 different religions with like rulers in them fighting the bad? Like, religion is very much a man-made thing. Regardless, like, if Jesus walked the earth, Jesus wasn't a Christian, because Christianity is the follow and action and like trying to live up to Christ. Like, a follower of Christ is a Christian. So like, it's not like, even if that's 1,000% true, then there's still all these other religions that probably had people that lived just as Christ did in this hypothetical I'm spitting out right now. Okay, so in this hypothetical, Christ is real. Christ lived. Everything in that, true. In the Egyptian, Anubis, and all of them, true. Like, everything's just 1,000% true. They all had living people. They're all based on true events. But then everybody made up these devils and wrote about these people and their lives and what they did. And in the writings, they were like, well, shit, I need to convince people to act this way, to worship my deity, my God, my whatever, because my way is the only way. Subjugation. Just because somebody has the proclivity to tell you that they want you to believe something, and if you don't believe it, then you're going to fall under the influence, punishment, whatever, of their evil adversary, doesn't make it true. Discern for yourself. Like, one thing LaVey said early on, if you go back to, I covered this already in like the Black Pope episode, maybe even. One thing he said very early on that I'm like 1,000% behind. No, it was during the Infernal Diatribes. I apologize. He says, question everything because the belief in any one untruth is the beginning of all unwisdom, or however he worded it, paraphrased. You can go back and find it in the episode. It's in the Infernal Diatribe. Basically, though, the concept of question everything. Like, holy fuck. If you believe something just because you're afraid of what's going to happen if you don't, then what the fuck does that say about you as a person? Like, the only reason you believe is fear. Fear may be a powerful motivator. It may even be a good motivator for some things, but it is a temporary motivator. If you believe something because you're afraid of what's going to happen if you don't, then I just feel sorry for you. I mean, fuck, grow a set. I don't even know. Like, the fact that there are this many names of hellacious entities, mind-boggling to think that only any one, pick one, I'm not specifying or singling out, any one religion has it right. It sounds to me like all the religions have one thing in common, and that's that they're trying to control people. So take it for what you will. Grain of salt. You don't have to agree with me, but if the only reason you believe what you believe is because you're afraid of what's going to happen if you don't, then I feel sorry for you. I just do. You have my pity. In closing for this week, it all basically boils down to a nice little tagline that I just thought of off the top of my head. So many devils, so little time. I don't care what religion you choose to ascribe to. I promise you, I don't. Pick one. Be happy with it. Be happy with yourself. All I ask, have a reason other than fear for believing what you believe. You want to be a Christian? Fucking go out in far left field. Make it you love everything about the religion, what Jesus stood for. You want to be a Satanist? You're on board with LaVey and you think everything else is bullshit. Like, notice, neither one of those has fear involved. You can be a Japanese Shintoist. You just love meditation and the peace and the oneness. Buddhist, you love all life. Not like, whatever you choose it for any reason other than fear. And for fuck's sake, people, please do a minimum of research. on what you're ascribing to so that you can actually have an intellectual and halfway intelligent conversation if somebody asks you about your faith. Please, I beg of you, just ascribe to whatever you choose for whatever reason you choose, but don't make the only reason fear. Because if the only reason you're doing something is fear, then is it even worth fucking doing? Nowhere in any of the Bibles or scriptures of any religion that I've looked at to date does it say that you get to enter their version of heaven, paradise, etc. if you feared what would happen if you didn't live in such a way. Like, all of them are about embracing the beliefs, the dogmas, the whatevers. LaVey, of course, the exception, because his is just live your life on Earth. And those fucking Yazidis, I keep referencing those because it's stuck in my head. The sinners of all sinners that are just going to repent on their deathbed because, holy fuck, good for them. But they're not living in fear. None of the religions that I have found promise you anything for being afraid. So if you're afraid of hell or whatever the equivalent of hell is in your chosen faith, and that is the only reason that you choose to act in a positive way, follow the scriptures, teachings, etc. of your religion because you're afraid of its hell, then fucking give up and find a new religion because you're just pathetic for doing that. Living in fear is never, ever the answer. And yeah, there are people that have to live in fear societally, but that's not what I'm talking about. They shouldn't have to either. Hell, I would just say to all those people that live in fear, fucking pop somebody in the mouth one good time. That'll teach them to treat you like shit and bully you. But don't do anything out of fear. Do it out of ambition, inspiration, love, fucking optimism, promise of reward, greed. Do it out of fucking greed. That's better than doing it out of fear. For fuck's sake. Just don't be ruled by fear. Don't let some asshole tell you what's going to happen to you and scare you into believing all their bullshit so that you follow their chosen life path for your life. It's your life. Live it how you want to. Fuck fear. What's a fear? F-E-A-R. Fuck everything and run, or face everything and rise. I forget where I heard those definitions, God knows where, long time ago, but just fear is useless. So for the love of all that is, please just, whatever you choose to follow, I don't care, I'm not going to judge you, I really just want you to do and follow what makes you happy and live in such a way that you're not going to be a shitty human and you're going to be one of those individuals that questions things and thinks about things without the fear of what's going to happen if you do. If a Catholic fucking priest, father maybe, I think, yeah, Monsignor, if the Pope listened to this, they would probably condemn me to hell. Guess what? I would laugh in their face because they don't have the power to. There is no, there's no one individual, no group of individuals that controls your afterlife, whether or not it exists. If it does, it's all predetermined. So just stop living in fear of bullshit and live your life the way that you know and feel that you should. Follow something that supports what you fucking feel like you should believe in. Man, I as much as I hate people, I'm going to go back to I love y'all, the individuals. And I hope that you guys are getting something from this. I hope that you're learning to fucking stop being afraid and just live your life in such a way that it glorifies you without doing harm to your neighbor. The only time you should be looking at somebody else's plate is to make sure they've got enough. Never to compare how much you have or if they have more than you. Just do your thing. Leave as minimal of a footprint as possible, but do your thing. Reach out. Help other people do their thing. Don't be a fear-driven little sniveling D-bag who's just afraid of what's going to happen if you don't follow the rules. Make your own fucking rules. I mean, you only get one life, supposedly. A couple faiths disagree with that, but for the most part, we're in agreement. You only get one life, or as yourself in your current personification, you only have one life. So make the most of it. Till next week, this has been A Twist of Faith, and I'm Alex Parkview.